The Virginia Creeper, illustrated and told from memory by me, Jen Meyer. One event that has had an impact on my life occurred when I was in the 6th grade. My brother Matthew was in 4th, and our youngest brother John was just 4 years old. We were on a family camping trip in southwestern Virginia, staying at Hungry Mother State Park. During that trip, we went for a day hike on the Virginia Creeper Trail. The hike intertwines between many trails to form a circuit that puts hikers back where they started. Matthew, a Cub Scout at the time, and I wanted to hike fast. John was struggling to keep up. He was at a stage where he was outgrowing his naps, but still needed to be carried occasionally. We convinced our parents to let us hike ahead and wait for them at the trail's end. My father was inspired by our desire for independence and helped to plead our case with Mother. Mom did not feel comfortable with the idea, but eventually conceded. Canteens and snacks were divided, and off we went. Starting on our journey, we felt free as we talked and sped along. We passed a through hiker whom we had met earlier during lunch at a roadside picnic area. He was headed north on the Appalachian Trail, the AT, as it's known, merged with the Virginia Creeper for a while. He was surprised to see us on our own. We assured him our parents were further back and at a slower pace. Many trails crossed our path. I remember thinking that it was perfect for hikers to customize their walks in the woods. It began to drizzle as the sun went behind the mountain range. We were both hot and cool simultaneously. At some point, our path met up with a mountain road. That is when we began to realize that we had made a wrong turn. Although we discovered our error, my spirits and confidence remained high as we marched on. We walked along the road for a bit until we reached that picnic area where we had stopped for lunch. We looked in the trash can, sadly, to find the residue of our lunch thrown out from the last time we were together as a family. For some reason, we kept walking on the highway. A car passed and stopped just beyond us. A man got out and asked if we were lost. He did not want to leave us there on the highway and wanted us to get in his car. In a southern twang, he said, "I'm not going to hurt you." I was getting tired and cold and knew we had to take the ride. I was close to the car as Matthew began backing away. At some point, Matthew and I were shouting at one another in front of the stranger. "He's going to kill us," he shouted. I said many things, but eventually convinced him to get in the car. The stranger gave Matthew his driver's license to prove his identity. He let Matthew hold it while he drove us to the campground. Matthew also had his hand on his pocket knife, just in case. When we got back to the campground, we asked to be dropped off at a recreation area. This space consisted of a small mountain lake with a man-made beach area alongside a bathroom and a shower house. I was shivering and decided that once our driver left, I was going to get in the warm shower. I took off my wet clothes and turned the shower on, only to be hit by cold water. I then noticed a sign that read, "Warm water turned off at 5." I screamed in frustration. After a few minutes, I put my wet clothes back on and went back outside. Matthew would later have described my scream from the cold shower as painful to his ears. We sat there in silence for a long time. Eventually, the stranger from earlier returned with his father. We did not realize that he was a teenager when we had met him earlier. They drove us back to the campsite where we were staying. To our surprise, our parents and brother were there. We all embraced, and Dad thanked the strangers for helping us. He offered them money, which they refused. To this day, my mother has not let my father hear the end of this persuasion to let us hike alone. I learned many lessons that day. Not to be in such a rush to be independent is one, but the most important thing is that there are kind people who are there to help. I don't remember what the strangers who helped us looked like, but I remember their strong southern accents. I was intimidated by the way they sounded at first, but it was like their character and kindness, but it was their character and kindness that resonated with me most. Appearances communicate one thing, but actions speak louder.